You know, I never thought I'd be in a position where I can sit here and talk to you guys and review or give my honest opinion on a medium format camera. And this medium format camera is the GFX100 Mark II. This is what people call a large format camera, or if you want to be less specific, it is a medium format camera. But this is an affordable medium format camera, and when I say affordable, I mean this is $10,000 Canadian affordable. Now I know some of you are going to be confused and say, how is $10,000 affordable? But when you actually compare the price to big brand medium format cameras such as Hasselblad, and you look at the entry point or the price point of those cameras where they're at $70,000 or $100,000, you're gonna look at this camera and be like, this is a $10,000 medium format camera that is affordable. So why am I reviewing this camera, or why am I giving my honest opinion on this camera? A camera that most people will never get their hands on or would never even look at to buy. It's because I was one of those people. I was one of those people who always thought, I will never afford a medium format camera. Why would I even try it? Might as well not get my hands on it because there's no point. I do not want to do a full in-depth review about all the ins and outs of this camera because there's a million people who've done that before. I will say some of the best things that I like about this camera, and I will talk about the body and some of the buttons on the camera and why do I like this camera or why do I not like this camera. Let's talk about the obvious. First off, the sensor. Now this sensor is a 102 megapixel sensor. Coming from a person who mostly shoots with mirrorless cameras, especially Fujifilm mirrorless cameras, I'm used to the 24 megapixel sensors on the X-H2S and on the X-T4. And to be completely frank, when I shoot with the X-H2S or with the X-T4, I find myself always being more thoughtful about my composition because I know that if I crop in, I will lose some of that quality. Yes, if I'm posting to Instagram, it doesn't matter, but if you are printing or you have clients, you don't really want to crop too much because you know you will be losing quality. With a 102 megapixel sensor, you can pretty much crop in a lot. It's insane how much you can crop in and still have enough megapixels and quality in your image to the point where you have a large 4:3 format image and you can literally crop in way into the image and still get a usable frame. You can actually get multiple frames and multiple compositions within one shot, which is definitely a big plus. So the processor on the GFX100 Mark II is the same processor that we have on the X-H2S, the X-T5, the X100 VI, and all the 5th gen processors. So it is the X processor 5. It is the latest and greatest from Fujifilm, and that means when it comes to autofocus capabilities, it's the same as the X-H2S. We have subject detection, animal, bird, plane, train. We have all the bells and whistles that we need when it comes to autofocus. The best thing about this though is the ability to shoot in high-speed continuous with a medium format camera, which is something that's not very common because of how big the sensor is and how large the files are. Every raw image that I shot personally, I went all out. I shot uncompressed 16-bit and the raw files were about 200 megabytes, if not more. So imagine if you're shooting in continuous burst and every time you have those files being put in your cart, right? And the buffer keeps filling up and filling up. So at some point, it's not easy to maintain or it's not easy to handle high-speed continuous shooting on a medium format camera. But the GFX, because it does have the X processor 5, combine that with this big sensor, the high-speed continuous can go up to 8 frames per second. Have I used this? Yes, 100%. I've used it to shoot my dog, which runs all the time and he's super quick, so I needed to shoot burst. I've used this in Los Angeles when I was shooting planes. I've used this multiple times and it is a godsend. It's so nice to know that you have an 8 frame per second burst It doesn't sound like a lot, but when it comes to medium format cameras, trust me, that's a lot. There's a lot happening. There's a lot of computation happening there. And I said that I went all out and I shot in uncompressed 16-bit. Now, technically, you can shoot in uncompressed 14-bit. You can shoot in compressed. You can also shoot lossless. Doesn't matter. What changes basically is the file size. The quality difference is not really noticeable, but I wanted to take advantage of the whole sensor and I wanted to have fun with the images. So I shot in uncompressed 16-bit. So you're gonna ask, okay, what's the benefit of shooting in uncompressed 16-bit? The fact that you can shoot in 16-bit means that you can kind of push these colors even more without really getting banding or artifacts. So your photo will not break as easily if you're shooting on, let's say, a 24 megapixel sensor. And because you have such a big sensor as well, if you're shooting in low light, you're not afraid to, increase your ISO, because technically it's not really noticeable. You can actually fix so much in post. You can push the highlights, you can bring back shadows, you can bring back the highlights. It's crazy how much control you have over your image when you're shooting in uncompressed 16-bit. You just have so much data to mess around with. And for me, this is so important because my work depends on color. Now, we all know medium format cameras or large format cameras such as the GFX100 II. They're photocentric cameras, right? They're cameras made for photographers. They're made for photography. But nowadays, when everything is shifting to video, you will be surprised to know that this is actually a beast when it comes to video capabilities. And I personally have used it for video as well. This camera can do 8K video up to 30 frames per second, which is wild. That's insane. We don't even have 8K monitors yet. We just saw one at NAB and it was $8,000. But the fact that you can do that, which I did, and I scaled in that video all the way in and it looked insane. It looked like a 4K video, even scaled all the way in, giving you more options and more than you need sometimes, but it's there. It's nice to know that it is there and it's something that you can use whenever you want. And obviously you can do 4K 60, you can do high-speed recording, just as much as the XH2S. Also, it does have F-Log 2, which has 14 stops of dynamic range. And I personally shoot in F-Log 2, all of my videos, and you can retrieve so much when it comes to post-processing. So when it comes to the camera itself, right, the body, well, what do we have, right? Well, we have inbuilt image stabilization, right, because big sensor, you want to stay steady, you want to get static shots. Rolling shutter does exist. Yes, obviously it's a massive sensor, but if you're a person like me who takes a lot of static shots, you're going to see a lot of stability there. Obviously we have the LCD screen, and pretty much it is a 3.2-inch LCD screen with 2.36 million dots. I love this LCD screen. I think it's bright, I think it's sharp, I think the colors are great. I think when you zoom in, you see a lot of, you see the quality of the image, and it's very different than the XH2S's LCD screen. You can instantly tell the difference, right? It is only a tilt screen, but if you are shooting vertically, there is a button right here which you click and it opens up the LCD screen pretty much, and you can now pretty much shoot vertically so you can see what you're shooting at. Grip on the body, amazing. One of the best grips that I have personally used from all of the Fujifilm cameras. You also have this nice finish here on the camera itself, and this makes it more grippy. It's a very nice finish. I don't know what to call it. I don't think it's carbon fiber, but it's just really good to the touch, to the feel. It feels premium, it feels high quality. You know you're not going to drop this camera once you hold it, and that's exactly what you need. Obviously this camera is weather sealed. Imagine you have a $10,000 camera that is not. I used this probably the second day I got it. I went out and it was snowing and raining in Toronto. I have a video and it's right up here if you want to see that. But yeah, it was an intense night. It was very cold. This camera, no hiccups, was great. You also do have this big secondary LCD screen. The XH2S does have one, but it's way smaller than this one. And this gives you a ton of information. I didn't look at it too much when I was working because I know the buttons that I customized to my own liking, but it gives you your light meter, the type of film recipe that you're shooting with or film simulation you're shooting with. Gives you your shutter speed, your focal length, your aperture, how many shots you have left. There's a ton of information that you can just get by looking at this top LCD screen right here. When it comes to the body of the GFX, it basically has the viewfinder, right? So, and you can just hold these two on the side. There's like two small buttons. You just hold them and just slide it off. And now, basically you don't have a viewfinder, right? I found myself personally shooting without the viewfinder a lot just because I think it looks super clean and it looks super nice. Just looks cool. But the viewfinder is absolutely nuts. It is 9.44 million dots, probably the best and sharpest viewfinder I've ever used. There is also an EVF tilt that you can buy as well, which basically you just install it and then you put the EVF on, and it basically means you can move the EVF, kind of tilt it upwards or to the side, and means you can get more versatility when shooting with the EVF, especially if you're shooting landscapes. I did not get my hands on that, but I heard that it is really beneficial and useful. Would I buy this camera? Yes and no. If I did have the money, if I had $10,000 Canadian and a few more thousands to spend on GF lenses, would I buy this camera? Yes, I would. The experience that I had shooting with GFX was honestly unlike any other photography experience that I've had shooting with the X-T4, X-T2S, the X-T30, and every other camera that I've used. If I'm a person who does a lot of traveling and adventures and I like to take my time and enjoy the scenery, the GFX would be the perfect camera. It's just the perfect companion. Because when you're shooting with a medium format camera such as the GFX, you know how when you're shooting film, you don't want to waste your rolls, right? It feels like the same thing with the GFX, right? You don't want to waste your shots. You want to take your time. You want to slow down. You want to breathe. You want to enjoy the scenery. You want to make sure your composition is right. And you want to be slow and meticulous with your shooting. You want to make sure that every shot counts. Similarly, when you're shooting film, which is very weird when you're living in an age where you have SD cards and everything is digital and everything is saved. It just has that effect on you. It makes you want to slow down. It makes you want to think. It makes you want to compose. I feel like this camera would make you even a better photographer when it comes to slowing down. Not everyone has $10,000 to spend. Some people need faster burst modes. They're shooting sports. They're shooting action sports. They don't do landscape. They shoot portraits. You know, there's so many unique scenarios. Every person has his own niche, has his own needs. But if I just did have the money and I was traveling around the world and I can pick one camera to take the best photos that I ever want to print and post on my socials and make massive large prints and sell those prints worldwide, I would go for the GFX. For me, I think that this is a well-crafted piece of art that will help you make art. But that's just me. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like. If you want to subscribe, please feel free. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.